Welcome back to the LCS Summer Split, where Giants and the Unicorns of Love are looking to close out the week with a win. And they certainly need it right now. Sitting close to the bottom of the standings there, Ender, you want to make sure you get these wins with the people around you to get yourself higher up into the playoff position.
Especially because both these teams are locked neck and neck in the standings. One of our other great games in today to try and separate themselves from those other teams that are locked right in there with each other.
All right. Kicking things off here, Giants start off with the Zoe ban. That's pretty much become standard fare against a lot of teams. Not so much against Exile.
It's interesting, though, because he has played that champion 5 times so far in this split, and I think it has been one of his better champions as far as performances go, but will be taken off that champion. It was nerfed in the latest patch, but still definitely a good ban to throw his way.
Unicorns fans in the crowd already getting riled up for their team. It's been a rough ride for these Unicorns for a little while now since, apart from beating H2K, they've actually lost a lot of their games the last few weeks. They're still searching for answers here. We'll see if they're able to find a little bit more. Mundo is, of course, banned away. We saw the Talia taken off as well, as it's back over to UOL.
Yeah, right now, Giants are just taking away the most played, the comfort champions from the solo laners of the Unicorns of Love. The Dr. Mundo, again, the White Knight special, he's got 5 games on that champion as well, and this just sort of plays in to the idea that right now, blue side is just stronger than red side. On red side, you have to ban away Talia, Aatrox, and usually the Nocturne, but
not
on
anymore.
blue side, not anymore, but on blue side, you have the flexibility to just focus down some individual players.
This may give the advantage over to Giants. Trundle will be their final ban. Now, if the Nocturne doesn't get banned this time, do you recommend it for Joko here?
Well, I certainly do. I think that the Nocturne is still very strong, and especially because they banned away the Trundle over on the side of Giants, and we just saw that as a very good answer into the Nocturne. I think it might have actually forced UOL's hand a little bit to ban that one away.
Okay, so for Giants, looks like the choice is going to be very quick lock-in of the Gragas. That gives them a decent bit of CC, as well as, we've seen a lot of the scalability of Gragas in the AP build, and it's something Joko has been liking in a few of these games.
And of course, can still flex up into the top lane from Ruin, so Giants don't have to give away too much information at the moment. And while I do like a pick like the Rumble for White Knight, I really like the Kindred here for Cold if Unicorns want to go for that. It's his most played so far in the split, and it seems like whenever he has the opportunity to pick it up, he will lock it in.
Oh, so Cold, is this going to be the pick for now? Unicorns taking a little bit of time, discussions with the team, with the coach on stage as well. Unicorns of Love. We know Cold is a very vocal member of this team. Let's see if he decides to opt for something a little bit different. He's had a lot of success on the Sejuani over the years too. This is more in the old wheelhouse, back when they called him Trashy.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because you look at a player like Cold, especially his recent performances on the team, and you want him on a carry, you want him on something like that Kindred. We have heard that these teams want to diversify their playstyles. Even when you look at junglers like Memento and Cold that usually are on those carries, you still have to be able to play something like the Sejuani. And right now, Unicorns are setting up for more of a team fight with the Rumble on top of that.
Well, the Rumble will have to contend with Ruin's Gnar up in the top lane, so now we know that it's not going to be the Gragas flexed. It's more of a Joko champion anyways, but let's see if Giants want to match some of that team fighting pressure. If Betsy picks up a very quick Orianna here in the mid lane.
Yeah, I really like the start here from Giants, especially that Gnar pick that talk a lot about the LCK has been popping up a whole lot more frequently. Wit's End actually been very popular on the champion, specifically into AP matchups like the Rumble. Will turn into a beast of a split pusher later on into the game, and Giants can try to toy around with the Unicorns a little bit by splitting up the map.
And for Exile, going for a signature kind of champion, the Assassins has always been something he's liked to play. So the Yasuo gets locked in. He's had his hands on it once this split already, and we enter ban phase 2.
I think this Yasuo is a little bit of a double win here for the Unicorns of Love as well. Not only is Exile very proficient on the champion, one trick back in the day, all that good stuff, but also if you want to send him into a side lane against Ruin's Gnar later on into the match, that is a fantastic matchup for the Yasuo and can try to shut down potentially one of those win conditions here for Giants.
Yeah, as always for Exile, it always seems like his biggest enemy is himself. Like he's actually not been able to find a win on this Yasuo so far. 0-3 is the record I'm getting from stats in my ear. And it's not necessarily that he doesn't have the skills, it's when he doesn't know when to not go in.
Yeah, and Alistar would have been a champion that the Unicorns could have picked up to tell him when to go in. You get a 5-man knockup, he presses R, and that's probably a good time to do it. I do expect Giants to continue with some of these CC displacement support ban. Something like a Pike perhaps has been a champion that Totoro has been very, very strong on when he's been given the chance, and would be another one of those specific target bans just because you know he loves to play that champion.
For Unicorns, they focus more bottom side. We see the Rakan banned away, also had followed with the Lucian, a steelback favorite.
I think it's got to be the Pike here. Could get away with something like a Braum, perhaps, if you want to try and limit a bit of the team fighting on the side of Unicorns of Love. Another one of those knockups here for Exile, but regardless, there will be champions left for Unicorns.
Okay, so Totoro probably going to be on that Braum. Now it goes back over to them for the next 20 seconds to try and get a lock, and we're still looking for an 80 carry. And we just heard you talk about some Hella Blades. But it looks like he's going to actually take the Ezreal away.
Boring. Neon back on the Ezreal, not playing Hella Blades, you know. Just not what we want to see. But still, it is a champion that he did look pretty good on back in his first week, his debut week in the LCS. Neon came in and performed very, very well for a rookie. The last few weeks, though, have been a different story for both him and the rest of the Unicorns of Love as they've been struggling to pick up wins.
All right, so on the Giant side, Steelback, he's had a couple of ups and downs himself, but he's going to have some very superior range on Neon to start this game off on the Varus.
Steelback sticking with his tried and true, the other player behind Hansama, to just keep playing those marksmen in the bottom lane. He doesn't want to change anything up, and of course, that is a champion that can dish out some pretty mean damage later on in the match.
I will add in a little bit of protection. The Tom Kench comes out for Sir Nukes a lot. I do like this kind of champion for him. Unfortunately for Sir Nukes, what a lot of people will remember is how fast he got blown up on Zyra. But that's just health bars, man.
Yeah, you don't get instantly one shot, especially because they also banned away the Zoe first. Maybe some bad
memories.
Yeah, flashbacks to the game against Caps.
Well, you need a little bit more tankiness, right? Like you have the Nards, a situational tank. You added in here the Tom Kenshin. It's still a pretty beastly team fight.
Yeah, and it's also some good protection against the pick potential that Unicorns are bringing, of course, with that Sejuani. The Morgana as well for Totoro, another one of those champions he has liked to play so far in this split, and will give a little bit more presence here for the Unicorns of Love's duo in the bottom side.
Okay, so now that we've got everything locked in, I've had a burning question I wanted to ask you about, especially this Giants composition, Ender. When I see a Gragas and an Orianna together, my brain goes, wait a minute, doesn't that do the opposite of what you want?
That's what your brain tells you, but these players are very coordinated when working together. You get that big body slam. That's what sets up for the Shockwave. Shockwave puts them all together. Then you throw down the cast. Maybe, you know, have Gnar slam them all into the wall too. There's so much AoE and combos here on the side of Giants that if they're able to execute properly in these fights, it's going to be pretty deadly.
Well, and Giants have been able to find some pretty epic fights of late. It's just putting the game away seems to be the difficulty. We saw what happened yesterday against Team Vitality. They had actually turned the game in their favor, but it wasn't quite enough. They'll certainly be looking to correct from past mistakes. But you can say the same thing from the Unicorns of Love. Every game is going to matter here. These teams need a win to stay relevant in the playoff race.
The Unicorns of Love came into the split looking strong, picked up a few wins early on in the weeks. Everyone was talking about how they were scrim gods, picking up wins, playing out of their minds, but it never really translated to a successful performance on stage apart from those 3 games they picked up early on. Now, in that race, that push towards playoffs on the second half of this split, you have to win against the teams next to you in the standings.
Certainly do. Those are the ones that are the most winnable, if you think about it. Of course, sitting down there in the bottom, there's a big separation, right? You've got Splice there at 5 wins comparatively. Giants and Unicorns still only sitting at 3. But the team's still here to support them. That's going to count for a lot. Unicorns always one of the more beloved teams in the EU LCS through all of their trials and tribulations. We'll see if they can live up to the legacy they have for themselves up against Giants here today in EU LCS Week 7.
How can you not be a fan of the Unicorns of Love with a name like that?
It was fun. When they first came into the league, man, everyone kind of raised some eyebrows. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
But they also came in after beating TSM with a Twisted Fate in the jungle, playing the pre-reworked Poppy as well.
Also, by the way, it's week 6. Everyone, I remember what week it is. I just completely brain farted. As in the game, also paused.
Yeah. Well, right before the pause, we saw Joko actually skill the body slam and bump over the wall, and Totoro doesn't realize what's going on. There's very likely going to be a collapse coming soon as 4 members of Giants are positioned around that support.
Because that's going to build a lot of tension right now as we're in the pause game. It looks like issues relating to something going on with Unicorns 11 Cold on stage talking to league officials. In the meantime, we'll see what the issue is if it persists for a little while. But let's talk a little more about our compositions.
Oh, compositions. All right, let's talk about those compositions.
I want to talk about win conditions, man.
Yeah.
Important things.
Let's keep it focused here. It's okay, interesting.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm going to have to bring it back because we actually are going to go back into game.
No.
You got to save your analysis now.
I wanted to talk about the win conditions. You got me so hyped for it, Pyra.
Save it. You got to save it, man. It's okay. Let's talk about that level 1 that's probably going to happen.
Get him, Joko. He's right there. They just saw Totoro. Uh-oh.
Here we go.
This is spooky.
This is
spooky
bad
business.
right now. This is a collapse. Full on. Goodbye, Totoro. We knew you well. Good flash over the wall. Exile's there. Actually not going to find him.
He did skill up the Black Shield at level 1, though, so that is a little bit unfortunate for
How did he get in that situation?
Well, he walked into a bush, and then Joko jumped over a wall, and then somehow this giant Gragas just came at him from behind.
Okay. Well, that's a little rough for Totoro to start things off, but no more shenanigans after that. Junglers, of course, both starting respectively topside jungle, blue and red buff.
So we talked a little bit about this Morgana and how it was supposed to actually be a little advantageous here for Unicorns in the laning phase. The pool, very good poke tool, can help Ezreal get an early shove off, but when Ezreal has to go by himself into lane against the range of Varus and the Tahm Kench, you usually don't get that shove, and especially because Totoro has the no Dark Binding, actually has the Black Shield, it's going to be especially punishing now for this actual 2 versus 2.
So this is going to be a little bit of an unfortunate start for Neon and Totoro, but let's talk again about where these teams are in the standings right now. I mentioned it, 3-8 currently sitting at the record, and this is why it's even more important than it was for our last matchup to get every single win, because you are knocking on the door of playoffs if you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're tied in 8th place, but you're only 2 games down behind from 7. Few more and to go, and you actually get into that 6th place spot, and it's so important too. Cold pointed out, it is do or die time today if they want to keep the playoff dream alive, because I really don't think you make playoffs if you lose against the other 8th place team. That dream is still possible mathematically, but very, very unlikely.
Yeah, the schedule doesn't get any easier from here on out, so this game is probably almost more important than a lot of the rest of them that are upcoming for both Giants and the Unicorns of Love. And it could be all down to inches, that early start. If Neon and Totoro find, an early Joko in their face down in the bot side, that could change a lot of things. Gragas, of course, he doesn't do as much damage early on, but he can still get the ganks off.
Yeah, and Joko's actually going to have control over both Scuttle Crabs here. Walked straight through that mid lane, hit level 3, and should limit the playmaking potential of Colt here early on. And I was a little surprised to see the Sejuani selected so early in the draft, because on 8-14, there was a nerf to it. The CC duration on that Glacial Prison was reduced to 1.5 seconds from 2 seconds. So that lockdown on individual members is pretty significantly reduced on this patch, but still Colt feels like it's a champion he can have a big impact on.
We'll see if he's able to do it just outside the Scuttle Crab vision. I don't know if anyone expects the early Sejuani gank. Level 3. Steelbacks or nuke slot not going too far forward just yet. Let's see if he goes around the side.
It's really hard to get a gank onto a Tahm Kench. You almost have to focus him down.
No binding. Yeah. Steelback safe. Nice attempt by Cold, though.
Unlucky, especially because there's just not much Cold can do at the moment. Joko got the best early clear off that is literally possible almost in League. He got his entire top side, both Scuttle Crabs, and is now finishing off on that bottom side of the map. So he's going to hold a pretty significant experience and gold advantage over Colt.
Well, let's compare the two junglers as well, because they fulfill very important roles on their team. Joko, though, does seem to have the edge a little bit, at least, when it comes down to jungle proximity and hanging around his team.
Yeah, both players, I think, as you said, very similar positions on the team, because their laners usually don't crush in the laning phase. They can go even, but they don't build up massive advantages. It really is up to Joko and Colt both to make early plays and build that advantage for the first 15 minutes. After then, though, I think is where the team sort of split up their styles just a little bit, because they have found some successful early games, but they both struggle to close it out and transition those big leads that they are able to get into actual wins. The difference for me is that Giants play like they almost don't have an advantage. They really slow things down. They don't, make any risky plays. Whereas Unicorns, they're the team that'll take that lead and try to tower dive you, and sometimes that can bite them in the back.
Yeah, we saw the Giants' tendency yesterday, actually, when they were up on Vitality. They were the ones that were reacting to some of these fights the Vitality were throwing at. And no one is going to be expected to be aggressive against Vitality comparatively, but speaking of aggressive, Exile going in, looking for Betsy, and we're back up to the top. It looks like Ruin might actually be in trouble. He's got Flash and Hop, but he gets interrupted on one, and he's out with the second.
That was a really nice interrupt there from Cold. Obviously stopping the second bounce there on Ruin's side, and now with that Gnar not having a flash, it's going to be a lot more difficult to actually press forward and shove an advantage in that top lane, while Exile just doesn't even care. He's buying time now for Cold to come on the flank.
All right. Gets spotted by the ward, though. Joko and Betsy are wise to this. No mana on Betsy anyway, so he wouldn't be able to get a whole lot done. And he hits the level 6 mark first, so if he had the mana to work with, well, that's when you start to see the big shockwaves.
Cold's going to be happy, though, because he's going to get himself a Scuttle Crab right now, the River Crab that eluded him for the first 6 minutes of the game, and should try to equalize the difference a bit here in the jungle, although Joko's picking up all those juicy minions in the middle lane, so he's still going to just edge a little bit further ahead of Cold here.
Oh. Cold trying to push him back and actually start to move this wave in. It's a red buff battle. Betsy's actually come back. Command Protect is on, and he pulls the shockwave, forcing the flash out of Cold. Nicely played there by the Giants mid laner. And it's just a couple of love taps, testing the waters a little bit. No one's fully committing. No one has the damage to anyways.
Yeah. A lot of action around the middle lane, and it's something you expect, because even though the junglers are the ones making the plays, the carries you look for on these teams, of course, are Betsy and Exile for that late game output, and the lane these players usually try to camp for.
But of course, Exile is the one that doesn't really care what type of time of the game is. He just wants to go in and make the play anyways. Betsy pushing the wave in. Exile still on half of his health bar as well. But still, junglers continue to maintain presence in the mid. Joko a little bit more here than Cold, and he's going to have to be careful. He has level 6, he has last breath, but he dashes in, dashes closer. Totro's at his back, he goes forward, straight into the Gragas belly bop, and Exile knows he has to burn that flash to try and get out of harm's way. He barely makes it.
Oh my, the shield passive there from the Yasuo came back at the very last second in the mid lane. Very aggressive stuff out of Exile, but as far as summoner spells are concerned, Unicorns come out slightly ahead.
Yeah. And that was crazy because it looked like Exile was a dead man, but now everyone's making moves into the mid lane. There's both supports here, which means the bottom lane is just a one-on-one, and not even anymore because Neon backs.
Yeah, these teams are just, you know, getting the old ARAM in for this mid game, because of course you can't have fun without the whole family around, right, to make the plays happen in the mid. But man, it's something to watch, especially because right now Betsy has a pretty large advantage over Exile in that 1 versus 1. But I did want to talk a bit about the teleports, because we still see AD carries, even after a 1-minute nerf to this spell, run the TP. And you ask, why is that after all these nerfs just continually thrown its way? And it really is just to make sure you can stay in the bottom lane for as long as possible, especially when you're playing a marksman that needs more time to scale. You want to have all the golden experience you can possibly have, and teleport makes that easier.
You certainly do. Very aggressive movement by Exile and Cold, looking to possibly dive up in the top, but I think they think better of it. In comes Betsy as well. Unicorn's the ones trying to drive the tempo of this game right now, Ender, for better or worse.
Getting all that deep vision down, maybe gonna try to make a play and deny the blue buff from Betsy. That is very important when you are playing a resourceless mid laner into a mid laner like Orianna that takes mana. If you can deny the blue buff, you can actually a lot of times get that mid lane priority and continue to force plays around the map. But I have a feeling Giants aren't going to let this one go over too easily, Pyra.
No, Joko's there. He finds out that it's already being contested, so it's a jungle battle here. Looks like it's bringing in even more. Look at White Knight coming around the side. That's going to get smited down. And it looks like it goes Joko's way at the end of the day.
Yeah, even though Cold was trying to combo that one down with the Permafrost auto attack empowered damage. And still going to be a win, though, for Unicorns, because Betsy, importantly, does not get that. Now, blue buff on Unicorn's side has spawned up. The question is, how wild do Giants want to get? Because it's a very powerful tool to have for your mid laner.
Giants definitely playing the more conservative route, and it fits with what you were talking about earlier, how they don't play with a lead even when they have a lead. They're 200 gold down now, but that's not really big at the start of the game. Maintaining this laning phase pretty even. Unicorns are the ones trying to make these plays, but look at how many wards that Giants have up towards the top. Ruin knows this is coming a mile away.
Yeah, everyone from all the teams is trying to make their way on up here. Cold and Exile are here first, but Betsy and Joko are ready to potentially turn this play around. But they both know they're there. Everyone's standing on a ward.
Oh boy, yeah, a lot of vision. This is why wards are important, ladies and gentlemen.
Awkward.
Information.
Just running into each other like, no, we don't want to fight that.
That's like when you're out and you're like shopping and then you like bump into somebody that you don't really like.
Yeah.
And you're just like, but you don't want to tell them that. You just want to, hey,
yeah, no,
good seeing
the
you.
worst is when you see them coming down the hallway from you and you awkwardly make eye contact, but then when you're trying to pass, you glance away like, oh, my phone, I must be having a text right now. Look how I interact in the real world.
We need some more Ender internal monologue. Make it happen, Twitter. Neon, ooh, nice. Good shift at the last second on those Chains of Corruption. The Black Shield comes in as well.
Black Shield is OP, man.
Yeah.
Morgana versus Tahm Kench, you can't do much of anything except in the mid lane.
All right, not a lot of damage yet on the Shockwave, and Exile puts down that wind wall. Let's take a look down towards the bottom, though. Cold coming in. There's a teleport now. Ooh! Morgana swallowed up by the Tahm Kench here. Let's see if he gets the damage out onto Totoro. Gray health pop, and not nearly enough. Giants.
Ruin.
They turn this one big. Gnar ultimate by Ruin, but first blood goes Totoro's way. And it looks like White Knight wants to have a barbecue, but the rest of Giants, well, they got their invites in the mail, and it looks like they don't want to keep this one down. Neon and White Knight, unfortunately for Giants, bounced away by the Gragas barrel.
Very close on the cask there at the end. In the end, it looks like it's just a 1-for-2 trade in favor of Giants, but there's no one here to defend this turret in the bottom lane, although Giants will try to continue this laning phase after getting a very advantageous fight.
All right, let's talk a little bit about one of the other Giants players, Steelback. You see him backing on your screen right here, and how he's basically been doing pretty well. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Looks like we got the replay of the game going here.
Yep. This is the play down there in the bottom lane. The teleport comes in first from Ruin, and it's so important too because he has that rage bar fully charged as soon as he makes it into the fight. Gets the double slam into the wall, and those members from Unicorns aren't going anywhere. Even with the best efforts from White Knight and Neon, it's still a 4 versus 5 because Exile was farming in the mid lane.
Absolutely right, and they could have had a little bit more than that. So here's what I want to talk about before the replay. Steelback, even in the loss versus Vitality, he actually stepped up pretty big, and I want to give this guy credit because he's been honestly not impressing throughout the split, but yesterday's performance, even in a loss, was something to give hope.
He has had a couple of good performances, and this is a player that has typically not been on the highest end of the tier list for a lot of people, a lot of analysts, but it is important to note that there is a little bit of inconsistency. Sometimes finds those breakout wins, and especially when his team can play around him, and you saw that kill participation too. It can be what is going on, Joe?
I don't know. The Giants are talking to league officials on stage as we have this other pause going, but don't let it interrupt your point because I think you're absolutely right. Steelback, he doesn't always have these breakout performances. The meta's definitely been something that I think has gotten inside his head, or at least inside of his champion pool. But he has come up with a couple of monster games, and it harks back to another history lesson for you, Ender. The 2015 Fnatic Steelback, when this guy first hit the LCS right before MSI, actually was a pretty big standout player.
Yeah, it's the arc of Steelback. I believe he had a stint over in NA as well.
There's a pretty long arc, man. It goes up, it goes down, it weaves around a little bit. NA, I don't know what that was. That was like a pit stop or something.
That's like season 3 when your main character goes through a little phase and
learns some has some epiphany and then comes back even stronger.
Yeah, comes back home, realizes where it really counts, where it really matters.
You do know your anime archetypes, my friend. I'll give you that.
That's EU, baby.
Yeah, that is EU. In fact, it looks like we'll be getting back into game. So pause resolved. Didn't get quite word on the issue there, but it was a quick one. So let's take stock of where we are after that play. The Giants coming out a little bit ahead here. They do find themselves at almost a dead even gold game, but it looks like that could change. Exile going aggressive once again, gets the last breath, and they combo it up, but Betsy immediately pulls the flash cleanse, and he's out of there.
These junglers just will not leave these two mid laners alone. No one is going to give them any room to breathe, but I really like the timings at which Cold is making these ganks happen, because you'll notice the last few times he's been here, it's been right as a Scuttle Crab is spawning. He gets mid lane priority, burns a Summoner spell or two off of Betsy, and then is able to go back, get that Scuttle Crab, and maintain closeness here against Joko, who had that fantastic early pathing.
Yes, indeed. So things are even, not just in the gold game total, but I think across the board at this point. The big difference maker could be Cold and Exile trying to take down the Rift Arrow, but there's a ward they're sitting on. There has been so much vision up to this top side for both teams. Joko calling for help. Will they get there in time to try and contest? That's a lot of damage between Cold and Exile on the Rift Herald. Giants slow to respond.
Yeah, there is a teleport on Steelback though, so Unicorns, they're in trouble.
Want the fight. Here comes Ruin. Meganar, he throws the boulder, not going to be nearly enough damage. The Rift Herald's even getting in as he gets a little bored of things right at this point. And that barrel, big whiff there by Joko. Ruin gets knocked up. Nobody dies here today.
It's a yikes for me. That ulti went the wrong way, man, and the Gnar ult as well. Didn't quite get him against the wall, did it? A little bit unfortunate there because they put a lot into that. The flash on Joko, a couple ultimates as well. I think that could have been a much better fight for Giants.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a slow response as well. Joko, you could see him hovering around expecting Betsy to make moves, but it just wasn't quite there in time. I mean, the shining light there silver lining, if you will, is that they stopped the Rift Herald, but at what cost?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to, micromanage and figure out all the tiny things Giants might have been able to do, but especially because they saw that going down for such a long time, Sir Nukeslot maybe could have brought in an Abyssal Voyage. There's definitely tools here on the global scale that Giants can make use of and will have to keep track of in the next few minutes if Unicorns ever make that type of play again.
Yeah, and Unicorns have been taking a leaf out of Vitality's playbook, to be completely honest, really going very aggressive, not just in the mid lane, but trying to take away jungle camps, keeping Joko down. This is recognizing that the important win condition, or the important early game condition for Giants has been not only Joko's farming, but his ability to get this blue buff for his mid laner. I don't know if Betsy's gotten one before this.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a while here, and hasn't meant too much for Betsy in that lane. Of course, still has about a 15 CS lead, but you can see right now, Totoro and Cold always working so well together. Every time Totoro recalls, he will walk with Cold around this middle lane to clear out some vision, put down some of his own, and if the opportunity is there, will pull the trigger and look for a gank.
And credit to Neon as well, because not only for a new player, but also up against Steelback, who we were just praising a moment ago, to really keep pace with that, and to keep even. This is why they like the Ezreal pick. It allows him to play relatively safe. Of course, he's going to lose out on the range game to Steelback, but he's still able to get the farm in, and that's what matters.
Yep, he is doing fine. Neon, of course, a player that can do without a lot of resources as Giants look for a play mid.
Looking for the kill onto Exile. He escapes through the brush, and Cold tags back in, looks for Nukeslot. There we go, the combo! White Knight, he puts on the equalizer, and Sir Nukeslot is left alone, but meanwhile, Steelback 1v1s Neon down bot.
How in the world did that happen? Never should be able to die as the Ezreal against this forest.
I was just saying he was safe.
Yeah, like, come on, man.
I am actually caster cursed. Yeah, we gotta see that in a replay in a minute.
Eventually it'll come on through, but in the meantime, Unicorns did make a good play in the mid lane. So Nukeslot was shut down, but here bot side, oh no, does he just sit on top of this control ward?
Yeah, he does.
100-0 down. That's actually incredible. That's the power of the Blade of the Ruined King.
Oh, he had to flash though too.
Right, because for so long, it was about the Ginsu's Rage Blade, a build that was much better against tanks. It takes a while to actually deal out that insane DPS, but after the marksman changes, making that Blade of the Ruined King a lot cheaper means that Steelback can go for that himself and then get these 1v1 kills against one of the newest members in the ULCS.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a nice change of pace too, because for a long time, I'm going history again today, like Steelback played very defensively. Like this is a guy that would buy like QSS second item.
Professor Pyra, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a history teacher, that's about it. That's all I'm qualified for. Exile's going up to the top.
Oh, Ruin's in trouble.
Yeah, he is. He does have Hop. He uses it. He's going to have Flash. Might need that one as well. Let's see. White Knight on top of him. There's the Flash. Wind wall already up, and he gets the last breath on top. Ruin is a barbecue.
That's especially tough because I think they saw Cold on the bottom side of the map as well. Ruin's like, hey, I can push on forward. That's going to be totally fine. But how did I get ganked? That was a mid laner, not a jungler. Let's press that pause button and figure it out.
Gray screen bug, guys. It's a real thing, and a little.
It's actually Ruin with
yeah.
With the issue.
I mean, you're the prophet in this game apparently, but well.
I also just used to be a referee, so I know when a referee stands behind a player, that's the player with the problem.
Is that what's going on?
It's magic.
I always wondered. Well, we'll get the nature of the pause in just a moment, seeing as how that's going on. But taking stock of things once again, like there have been a lot of little trades back and forth. For all those flashy plays, it's still 3-3 in kills. It's still pretty much dead even gold. There's no towers in this game because both teams have been focusing on keeping the other one down.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and I think for me, the standout player so far is Steelback. We just talked about how he had a really good game yesterday. All of a sudden finds a 1v1 kill against Neon in the bottom lane, has 2 kills under his belt, and feels like he's going to be a lot more important for a victory here on the side of Giants, because in Champ Select we talked a bit about how, well, Ruin on this Gnar was supposed to be a really strong split pusher, and if he's getting shut down by roams from Exile and ganks from Cold, Steelback is definitely going to have to try and step it up a bit in these team fights.
Absolutely. Now that's of course still going to be a ways away, but it is nice to see, especially when all the eyes are going to be on the mid lane. You've got a Yasuo, Exile playing this, going for the aggressive plays, Cold backing him up. As you said earlier, the junglers haven't left mid lane alone pretty much the entire game. It makes Steelback's performance in the 1v1 scenario against an Ezreal even more impressive. Like, I'm liking what this guy is doing right now. I want to see if he can translate that into big leads for his team, because Steelback has been one of those players that has been reluctant to join the AP side of the camp right now and has been sticking to these marksmen. He's making it work, though.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see how these team fights work out, especially because Giants, I don't think actually have the best of front lines. Usually you see a Gnar building Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver, a little bit more tank-oriented items, whereas with a Wit's End Rush on the side of Ruin, he's definitely focused a lot more on the 1-versus-1 matchup against the Rumble. So it really will be all about executing on that initial combination of the Orianna plus the Gragas, and then good positioning from Steelback with the protection of Sir Nukeslot to win out in these fights, because especially the further on we get, the squishier this Gnar is going to be if he ever tries to dive in and get a big ulti off.
And that's the risk, right? When you try to make those plays and you don't quite have the items to back yourself up. Now, I am hearing word that League officials are currently investigating reports of lag by some of the Giants players, so we'll take a look at how that develops and as they review some of the replays as it goes. But obviously, in those crucial moments, it's tough, man.
What an NA excuse, man. Lag 60 ping.
Whoa, jet lag is what you're thinking of. That's different,
no,
man. It's different. 60
you're
ping's,
right,
60 ping's a new meme, I agree.
No,
but,
jet lag is an EU excuse, because that was when we came back from Rift Rivals, and G2 had a really rough week. Fnatic lost against Splice.
Well, it's EU for EU. It's not EU versus NA.
But here's the thing. Then NA was like, oh, we lost against EU because we have 60 ping.
Okay, NA excuse. Fair enough.
And then they're lagging on stage.
All right,
you see all the pieces of the puzzle.
I'm not going to admit defeat. What I will admit is that we got to take a look at the standings one more time, because remember, we have to hit this one home. These guys are sitting close to the bottom. 3 wins only and 8 losses. Every single game is going to count for them to try and make it into playoffs. And you can't afford to drop a game against the guys that are right next to you. Yeah,
I mean, I said it before Cold. You saw him tweet out earlier at the start of the day that this is do or die time. You have to win this game. If the team that loses here, I don't honestly think can make it into playoffs. You will not lose against another 8th place team and then go on some miracle run. It's much more likely that either Giants or Unicorns win this game, then get a lot of momentum, build some more confidence back up, and then can try to start challenging teams like Splice, like Roccat, like Schalke, the teams in the middle of the pack, because that's the way they try to claw their ways back into playoffs contention.
All right, looks like we'll be going back into game. And to add to your point, too, it is critical to look at who they've actually beaten as well. Unicorns, they hold wins over Giants already, and H2K, as well as Splice. But Giants are a whole nother story. I mean, these guys, they have 2 wins over H2K. Their other win is G2 Esports. Remember that one?
Yeah, I do, and right now they're trying to get the win against Unicorns.
Okay, tower's going to fall. That's the first of the game for Giants. Unicorns had already gotten one, so game fairly even. Still, the first tower plug going the way of the Unicorns of Love.
Here's the trade, though, right now, because Giants are all on the bottom side of the map. Cold will start up the Rift Herald, but the Giant squad knows what's going on. I think they actually try to fight this one. Betsy's already there. Sir Nukeslot and Steelback are roaming up with the Abyssal Voyage. They might just want to look for a team fight.
Yeah, I think Unicorns might be itching to take it as well. Ward going to spot out Betsy as he goes in. He tries to zone with the ball here, and it looks like they're going to nearly finish that Rift Herald. Unicorns backing off, and oh, thank you very much. Nice leash.
DY for leash. That is ours now, say Giants. Even though Neon had teleport on the other side of the map, Unicorns don't feel like they're strong enough right now to take the 5 versus 5 with all of Giants already there, already coordinated in how they were going to attack that river.
That was like, immediately Unicorns just back up. That was like cyberbullying, man.
Not the most brutal case of cyberbullying we've had in the UOL.
No, just intimidation. They just like looked at him funny, and then Unicorns walked away.
How do you look at someone funny through the internet?
You send a mean tweet.
Ah. Mm-hmm. None of these players really send mean tweets, though.
No, these guys are pretty nice, actually.
They're mellow. They're mellow dudes.
I mean, there's always a bit of banter, right? But you know, like with Cold, he's very serious about it. He talks about you know, the importance of not just winning each of these games, the attitude and stuff. Whenever I have been speaking with Cold, he's always kind of focused on that, like making sure things are positive and things are upbeat, because that's how you get yourself out of a funk.
It definitely is. Right now, though, on the side of Giants, I like how they're playing. They're using this tempo advantage that they got by taking the first turret in the bottom side, rotating Steelback and Joko up. It's like his second support here with that Gragas. Try and knock down another turret. White Knight can, though, use the equalizer to clear away that wave and try to stop this if he wants to.
Okay, gonna do just that. Totro's here as well. They don't want to keep forcing the fights. It looks like Steelback and Joko are just gonna tank the last few tower shots anyways, so Giants get that tower advantage, but once again, Exile on the side lane, on the Yasuo, and he's gonna equalize that.
I mean, you already see the flowchart sort of unfolding here for Giants. Take bot lane turret, take top lane turret, they throw in a Rift Herald there, and all of a sudden they can rotate into mid lane and use that to break the final outer turret of the game. That has to be the play coming in from them once their duo recalls in the top side.
Okay, so Cold and Exile. Now, this is one thing they can add to what they've already gotten, is that Cloud Dragon, a little bit of extra move speed. We hit this 20-minute mark, but very rarely do we see the game just being like this tit for tat over and over again, like consistently matching pressure. The biggest difference has been the fact that Unicorns are trying for all the crazy stuff. And as you mentioned, Giants is like, it's like full corporate mundo, just flowchart after flowchart.
Yeah, we have to sort of bring it back to the tendencies of these teams, because usually, even when Giants have a lead in the early game, and it's very even right now, but they're not the ones to drop the Rift Herald. They're waiting around a little bit more, so it's nice to see them taking the proactive approach here to take yet another turret, but now the challenge is, how do they extend off of that? I talked about Joko. He needs to step up as a leader on this team, start calling the shots, and that shot might be to collapse into the bottom lane, because Exile's been split pushing this entire time.
Yeah. Thought for a second Sir Nukes was going to go for the bot dive. Exile actually waiting around. You can even hear the players on stage. Unicorns kind of, why is this something maybe happening? Giant step forward, look for Totoro. He's got the black shield on. Point blank, it looks like he's going down anyways. Nice use of the stopwatch tick, but that's only going to buy a little bit of time, my friend. Ruin picks up the kill with the boomerang.
Some say nice use of stopwatch, others say that was a total waste right there from Totoro, but nevertheless, it's still 5 members of Giants pushing in mid lane, while Exile is down bottom.
He's trying to equalize on these towers. He's going to be able to get it, but Giants, they're just 5 members strong here, and I don't know if they want to take a full-on base race, but man, Exile just doing work on these objectives.
They're definitely going to have to base, and they can't go over and start up the Baron because top lane and bottom lane are both in really tough positions from them. I like how Unicorns are playing this, even though individual members keep getting picked off.
Yeah, no matter what, despite the fact that Giants were the ones able to force the fights, able to execute on it a little bit better, Unicorns find a way to get these plays, and let's see if White Knight can get out of harm's way. Yes, he can. Just walks through the lane.
Joko,
very even.
Joko thought the Scuttle Crab was a little more enticing there than the kill onto White Knight potentially. The rest of Giants had gone ahead and backed away, but you can see just how up and down and all over the place this game has been.
This game looks like, it looks really like there's been huge swings, but then you look at the actual numbers and you're like, oh, that's like by like 1,500 is how much the gold has been swinging. It is only 22 minutes in, though.
Yeah, this is where if I was casting with Medic, I could make a joke about how that looks like a very unhealthy heartbeat.
Medic would be able to actually tell you if it is. I am not one of the people that could. All right, Cold. Ruin. Nice. Gets the stun off. Ruin. Okay. And straight into the last breath, but Ruin flashes the wall, followed by Exile. Going for the base gates. Exile, he dashes over. Very aggressive play, and he makes the kill.
And he follows him through there, but there's no teleports on Cold or Exile. Unicorns love this. Has to be a 3v5.
All right, it looks like it's going to be 4 members of Giants Gaming inside the Baron pit. Totoro, White Knight trying to stop this True Shot barrage, and the Equalizer comes and tries to force him up. Look at what's going on with Exile. He's taking the tower in the base.
And the Equalizer disengages Giants off of the Baron. That is going to be 1 turret for Unicorns in the bottom side, and now the rest of their team is pushing through the mid lane.
I'm loving the creative play out of Unicorns. I love Exile decides to not push his luck on this one. He takes the tower, and Unicorns get mid as well. This is where the gold game starts to go in the favor of UOL.
Man, Giants are finally trying to make proactive plays in the mid lane, but the Unicorns are just taking them to it, sending Exile, keeping him in the bottom lane, even when it looks dire for the Unicorns. When members get picked off, when Giants start up the Baron, they stay calm, they stay true, and they get rewarded for it.
And they're playing objective-based gameplay, too. This isn't like the chaos fights, like we're just going to try and crash up 5v5, because they know that Betsy is going to hit those crazy shockwaves, maybe not right now, but in a couple more items. Seriously, like I'm loving this play out of the Unicorns.
And I'm liking the build here from Exile too, because recently you've seen a lot of second item GAs or Sterix gauges on the Yasuo. That is a cowardly build for Yasuo. I like the Infinity Edge.
He's a brave man.
Damage. He's going into a side lane. He's trying to split push against the Naren. That's where it gets difficult for Giants, because they want Ruin to have an advantage and to match up against White Knight. But if Exile is always the one going into a side lane, all of a sudden this Gnar pick really doesn't do that much for them.
Yeah, I mean, Exile, it's kind of like a little mission that he's been going on now. He might run face first into Joko and Sir Nukes a lot. Turns tail and runs for just a second. Nice use of the wind wall. However, the barrel will knock him up against the wall. Nowhere for him to go, but over the wall, followed up by Sir Nukes a lot. But the rest of Unicorns coming to join this party. Exile 1v1ing. And he's able to make it happen. The Unicorns keeps going. Ruin, he does get one into the wall, but not nearly enough. Shockwave only going to connect onto Totoro. Cold takes down Ruin. This is a chaotic fight, but Unicorns are coming out ahead. They've only lost Totoro, and they've taken down 3 Giants in the process.
Exile is an absolute beast on the Yasuo here. Oh my god, in the 2v5 situation at the start of that fight, he gets over the wall, he comes back in, turns it around, and still doesn't drop. That was fantastic.
That was actually sick. I was like mouth agape for a second. What is going to happen? And Exile pulls it off.
Well, because at the start, I'm like, oh no, he used the wind wall on the first barrel from Gragas that leaves him exposed to the cask. Then he just casually sidesteps it, doesn't get hit, and then Sir Nukesalot tried his best, but Exile used him to go through the wall.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at that again.
Man.
That replay is brought to you by Acer Predator.
There's so many things to look at. That's why I sort of broke down a bit at the start, because again, it's 3 members of Giants against just the 2 of Unicorns. And you just watch Exile through all this. Sidesteps the first one, jumps through the wall, but then doesn't get spit back over by Nukesalot. That is absolutely key. He's able to keep it alive and swag a little bit. Dab on Steel back on the end too.
Yep. Excellently played. Shockwave gets spent only on Totoro. And now that threat is gone, I mean, at this point it's cleanup duty, so Unicorns just kind of chase him away. I thought they were just playing for the objectives. They're playing for the fights as well. Now Exile, let's see if he Mission Impossibles his way out of this one. Stops the Varus ultimate with the wind wall, but there's nowhere for him to go. Shut down. So Steelback gets very quick revenge.
Yeah, that is a 675 bonus gold off of the bounty that Steelback just picked up too. So while we were just praising Exile a whole bunch, Giants say, you know what? It didn't work out the first time we tried to get Exile, but we're not going to stop there. We go back one more, and now we'll get the massive payoff.
Yeah, no kidding. And it goes to the pocket of Steelback as well. So now Giants feeling a little more swagger in their step with 24 seconds left on Exile's respawn. They're starting up this Baron in full sight and range of the Unicorns of Love. It's going down relatively fast here. Let's see if the Unicorns collapse is going to be enough in a 5v4. Equalizer thrown down. Maybe not in the most optimal position. They do get a stun off onto Sir Nukesalot, and White Knight still char-rolling Ruin. Joko very low. He might need to smite a little early for the health, but he doesn't want to do that. It would be very risky as he knocks away Cold just in the nick of time. Giants hit and run, smash and grab, whatever you want to call it. They get the hell out of dodge. Let's see if they can keep making their escape. Joko flashes to avoid the follow-up damage.
Very close right there. Giants get away with murder. I like what I'm seeing, though. I'm feeling a lot more confident about this Giants roster. They are finally taking command. This has to be Joko calling the shots in the mid-game to make those types of plays, and it was his cask, too, that made that Baron go his way.
Yeah. Giants, honestly, the 3 and 8 doesn't necessarily reflect the way this team has been playing. I thought it was such a close affair with Vitality yesterday that they just dropped at the very end. Just unfortunate fights for them. But Giants really executing well despite being behind in the gold game, despite Unicorns finding angles to attack them, to take down these towers right under their noses. Now they've got the Baron buff to work with. Let's see what they can do with it.
That has to be the question. It's always the question with Giants, too, because, again, it's hard to send Ruin into a side lane against Exile, and even more important that they don't get caught out in their own jungle, because Unicorns are more than happy to start up a fight, because there's no turrets down in this bottom lane to protect Giants.
Pretty easy. Of course, you don't want to over-push yourself, too, because you might find yourself on the wrong end of a shockwave. Meanwhile, up top, so Ruin, he's the one getting the split push on this Gnar. Big old wave of minions. There's no way that this is going to get contested, because all of the Unicorns of Love were busy in the mid, busy in the bot. And it looks like that's going to mean Giants can start bringing this gold back. And wouldn't you know it, Ender, 28 minutes later, we're right back with an even game.
This is actually just incredible, because I was almost sure that one of these teams would blow up in the early game. Much more crazy playmaking out of Joko and Cold, but instead they both sort of faced off, stared each other down. We only saw a few ganks actually result in a kill at the start, but now Giants have to keep using the Baron buff. They have a minute and a half left on that bonus, and try to crack open an inhibitor, but of course that's going to be very difficult because there's still an outer turret left they have to work their way through.
Starting for it, Joko looking for the flank, not going to find it. Meanwhile, Exile gets chunked a little bit, but here comes the Tom Kench. Sir Nukesalot bringing up the rear once again as Joko finds Cold. Barrel comes out. No, the black shield was on him. So he spends that, doesn't get anything out of it. However, there's still a couple of minions. Let's see if Giants can find enough chip damage on this turret and force Unicorns of Love back. It looks like the answer is yes.
Well, Exile, he had to walk all the way back into the fountain, so only now is he going to be returning into this fight, and Unicorns can look for a turn.
Oh, see, Cold, he's got the stun off, but it's only onto the Tom Kent Shockwave pulling into. That could be the turn. A big Gnar from Ruin, and Giants right inside the Unicorns base. Redemption, I don't think so. Neon does find the Gnar, and Unicorns will turn them back. That's low health bars on the Giant side, and no more ultimates to work with. Cold still chasing them down, but can they make the great escape? Looks like the answer is yes. That was, I can't believe that was a 1-for-1.
Just centimeters away from Unicorns, completely turning around the landscape of that fight. One Q landing from Neon, giving him the movement speed he needed. could have been the difference maker. You see this one more time, though, because at the start, Giants feel so confident walking into the base, but it sets up for this equalizer, a 4-man equalizer in towards the stun. And again, it turns around. It looks very good for the rest of Giants, but their carries are low. Ruin gets taken down at the start, while Neon is completely untouched in this fight. He's poking around with Qs, and if just that one can land on Joko, if the next one can land onto Sir Nukesalot, that could be an ace for Unicorns.
Yeah, and that could very well be the way this game shifts, and you can see the shockwave damage was pretty real in that fight. Steelback actually danced a little bit around the outside of that one, didn't get nearly as much damage done as you would have wanted him. And that's kind of the tendency we were hoping to not see out of this guy.
Yeah, that's sort of typical Steelback fashion where he doesn't want to risk losing his life, so he doesn't quite get all that same DPS off that you see out of other players, and especially now that he has the Ginsus on top of the Runon's Hurricane and some protection with that Quicksilver Sash. He needs to be up a little bit closer to getting those autos down.
Speaking of closer, I think it was a little too close for Sir Nukesalot. Now White Knight looking to get another barbecue going here in this jungle. White Knight's not quite going down, but the big barrel comes in, and now Unicorn still the stronger team. Late teleport out of Ruin. He cancels it as the fight is already lost, and XL comes up with a double kill.
For the last 5 minutes, Unicorns have just been running around as a 5-man unit and forcing skirmishes inside the jungle. Now, even though they might not have a Baron buff, there's no wave clear left on the side of Giants, and they might actually be able to be the ones that get themselves an inhibitor without that bonus.
Might just be the case. Not the hugest minion wave in the world, but as you said, not really any wave clear to contend with. Joko and Ruin have to give this one up, keeping themselves healthy with the redemption courtesy of Totoro. That will be the inhibitor taken down in the mid. Unicorns, they're not done yet. There was an open one down here from Exile's work earlier. This is going to be a 2-hit swing.
That push in the bottom lane when Giants weren't able to take down the Baron comes back to haunt them once again, and with just 2 minutes before that next Baron spawns onto the map, the pressure that the Unicorns of Love will have because of the 2 waves of super minions crashing into the Giants' base is going to be so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, we're starting to get to that point where people are maxing out on a lot of their items. It's still 1 or 2 slots left and available. Here's the gold graph. As it has grown up a little bit, it has gone very much in favor of the Unicorns, but there was Giants bringing it back for a while. Still, the game balances a bit on a knife's edge. What can Giants do?
Well, here's the thing. Even though there's a lot of red in that last half of the graph, it's still only a 2,000 lead here for the Unicorns of Love. Team fights, and the game is most certainly still winnable and still very, very close. Any mistakes made by players will cost them greatly, but it's very hard now because Giants, their carries, Betsy and Steelback don't have flashes, and that is absolutely devastating against the impact of a White Knight equalizer.
Well, this is where Steelback's QSS will certainly come in handy if he ends up needing it. Let's see if his 3-item Varus will be enough damage as well. Giants actually might need to retreat a little bit to their own base. Sir Nukesalot's going to take an Abyssal Voyage back to the relative safety of tower as Joko walks it out. Next objective on the horizon, though, Ender, Baron once again. 44 seconds until that respawns.
Right now, Betsy and Exile both are going to be entering this fight so incredibly strong. Betsy now has the Rabadon's Death Gap to give him a whole heck of a lot of AP, while Exile working towards that Bloodthirster. It's going to be very difficult to take him down in these fights unless he makes a mistake, and that's something that is very easy to do on Yasuo. He has to be executing at 110% in these engagements.
It all comes back to the way the teams want to play. The mid laners are so crucial for these late game fights, and talked about how Giants tend to have, a little bit of longer games sometimes, and of course Unicorns of Love have had some rough games as of late, but this is just such an improvement right here. Yes, these two teams are closer to the bottom of the standings, but they're both fighting their damnedest for these playoff positions, and this is the game that you must win.
And you're going to see Joko continuing to step on forward here because he almost has to look for an engagement. The minion waves are going to be very difficult. Thankfully for Giants, they have teleport, but there might just be a fight.
Sir Nukesalot, okay, backing away. That wasn't the target they wanted. Exile, not going to find Joko with the Hurricane, but it was enough to scare them off. Baron's now live on the map. Unicorns immediately turning for it. Do they dare to bait this? With 2 inhibitors down, Giants might have to force a fight and lose more of their base.
I think they can start it up, but that is a fantastic ward from Sir Nukesalot. So many teams miss this one. The rest of the Giants can get into this fight. They know what's going on. And the rest of the team is collapsing on over here to try and stop this.
2-man Baron, though. Neon and Totoro, they're keeping the gates this time. And looks like Baron
they need to
is
go.
nearly going to fall. This is going to be a very fast one if they don't turn in. And Unicorns have actually turned away from it, just keeping the Baron aggroed. It's such a tense dance right now as the redemption even comes in, and White Knight, he's nearly melted down, but everyone's rooted up. The Baron finally gets smited. It's taken away by Cold, but Ruin looking for the fight. Neon gonna delete Joko off the map, and Unicorns of Love showing they are the stronger team fighters. It's not over yet. Double kill for Exile, looking for Ruin. Cold and Neon chasing him down. And it's only Betsy left to defend.
Yeah, Betsy's trying to do his best, but he's got no mana. Can't finish off the kill onto Totoro, and White Knight will just chase him back into Oblivion because the rest of the Unicorns, they're going for the end.
All right, ends in flames for Giants, and for Betsy, that is going to be lights out. 35 minutes, it was close. Down to the wire in a game that means oh so much for playoffs. At the very end, Unicorns of Love prove they are the stronger team and come up with a huge victory.
And on the back of Exile's Yasuo, the best combination you can ask for as a Unicorns of Love fan. He goes into the side lane, builds up massive leads for his team, and can never be shut down. Even when the odds are stacked against him, he's outplaying the Giants everywhere.
This is why we see so much attention on Exile. You can always joke about how he falls down in the laning phase, he you know, has way too many deaths. It doesn't matter. This guy, when he gets ahead, when he gets rolling, oh boy, he will carry.
It's crazy too, because even though he was the one making all those flashy plays, you look top to bottom on the Unicorns of Love's side, and White Knight had a massive impact in the team fights. Cold and Totoro were the ones playing through Exile to let him build up an advantage in the mid lane and not fall too far behind. And then Neon, the surprise, did significantly the most damage in this game on the Ezreal.
It's a far cry from him getting 1v1'd by Steelback earlier on in the game. So really, this Unicorn squad is coming together, and they've been through adversity, not only dropping so many games, having to make a change in the bot lane position. Of course, please get well soon, Samix. Let's take a look at how it all broke down, because, yeah, you could definitely ask Medic about that heartbeat. I think I know the direction it went at the end, though.
Yeah, it got a little bit out of control, got a little bit hyphy at the end too, with Unicorns taking that fight after the Baron too, splitting up, dividing, and conquering onto the rest of Giants. But this composition does not work for Unicorns if Exile doesn't have the standout performance that he did. It was drafted as a counter into the Orianna, as a counter into the split push of Ruin in a side lane, and you just saw him make it work in every possible situation.
But credit to Giants keeping this one close. As I've said numerous times, it's a little bit rough sometimes for seeing this team just not be able to finish the game. And here's one of our replays with Exile really impressively outplaying the Tahm Kench at the end.
So clean from Exile, getting over the wall, somehow surviving, and triumph in the end, helping him out restore a little bit of HP while the rest of his team goes in for the fight. It just goes to show that Giants kept trying to put everything on towards Exile, but he could not be shut down.
Yeah, and here was the Baron play. It was crazy how well they actually kept the aggro to split it. And by the time White Knight was in trouble, they'd already had it.
Yeah, and you see Cold using the ultimate there to zone Joko away from the Baron pit. Then Exile and Totoro are able to 2 versus 3 on the bottom side of this fight, because that was just how strong, that was just that kind of game there for the Yasuo. Great stuff out of them to try and get closer to that playoff position.
Only a couple of games back from some of the guys right in front of them. Of course, Splice is a team that Unicorns have already beat once. Remember, tiebreakers are going to start coming into effect very soon.
Now they just got to keep doing it. Make it rinse, repeat, get those wins again, because it's the middle of the pack teams that they have to be able to overcome in order to leap up into the 6th or even higher position in the standings.
Absolutely. Now be sure to get your vote for the player of the game at LoL Esports on Twitter. We've limited the options down just to 3. It's Exile, White Knight, and Cold. We don't see White Knight in that category all too often, but I think he absolutely deserved it.
I mean, player of the game, he deserved
standout player. I'm gonna say standout player,
but yeah. we all know who really did the
whoever Twitter picks. That's who we know. Now we're gonna go ahead and head over to Lo, who's standing by with the Unicorns of Love's jungler.
Thanks, Pyra, and thanks, Cold, for joining me. Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You must be pretty relieved right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, relieved is definitely the word. If we didn't win today, I didn't really have much hopes for reaching playoffs. So this win was like, I tweeted out earlier, this is really do or die time, and this is really it. You know, like if we didn't win today, then bye to the season. So it meant so much.
Yeah, but here the playoff dream keeps alive. But I'm wondering, you had multiple pauses during the game. So how is it for you to have so long pauses in such a in an important game? Say.
I mean, the pauses are whatever, honestly. For me, it was actually pretty helpful because then I could press tab and just take an overlook and see what is happening on the map and what I should do more and focus more on actually making the correct calls. So I don't know if that was the plan, you know. I didn't make the pauses, but it was pretty good for me.
And you lacked consistency through the split, and even though in this game, so now that the playoff dream is still alive, how will you keep this consistency to make it out the regular season?
I mean, right now, everyone can see we are struggling. Like, when we play against the top teams, we just get demolished in 20 minutes. And when you leave the stage after those kind of games, it's really like an empty feeling because it was not like a close game where you felt competitive and then you lost because of a bad call or bad play, stuff like this. But we just get, like, absolutely destroyed, you know? And that just cannot happen, really, if we want to be a team that can go to playoffs. So even though this win was nice, we have so many things that we need to fix in the next couple of weeks if we want to actually reach playoffs. And that is our goal. And as long as there's like a tiny hope that we can reach playoffs, we will keep trying our hardest for it.
Yeah, that's good to know. Well, congrats on this one and good luck for the upcoming weeks. Now, this time we will take a short break and we will come back right after with the Physio and RNA on the desk.
Swallowed up by the Tom Kench here. Let's see if he gets the damage out onto Totoro. Great health pop, but not nearly enough. Giants. They turn this one big. Gnar ultimate by Ruin, but first blood goes Totoro's way. There we go, the combo. White Knight, he puts on the equalizer, and Sir Nukeslot is left alone, but meanwhile, Steelback 1v1s. The rest of Unicorns coming to join this party. Exile 1v1ing. And he's able to make it happen. The Unicorns keeps going. Ruin, he does get one into the wall, but not nearly. But it's only onto the Tom Kench Shockwave, pulling into that could be the turn. A big Gnar from Ruin, and Giants right inside the Unicorns base. Redemption, I don't think so. Unicorns of Love prove they are the stronger team and come up with a huge victory.